Stablecoin adoption is buzzing with a new IPO and Circle earnings headed our way soon. Welcome back to Crypto Corner. I'm Jenny Horne, and joining me now to discuss the current crypto headlines is Adam Lynch, director at Schwab Equity Research. Adam, we're moving Bitcoin to the side a bit today and focusing on stablecoin. Let's start with the regulatory body and what the SEC is guiding its staff on now these USD stablecoins.
Yeah, so if you remember, back in mid-July, Congress passed the Genius Act, which established the first federal regulatory framework for these stablecoins, hoping to address consumer protection, financial stability, and AML compliance. And that landmark legislation started a stablecoin regulation wheels in motion. And this week, the SEC released new guidance on accounting rules for them. So the latest guidance that they released essentially suggests that stablecoins pegged to the US dollar can be classified as cash equivalents on corporate balance sheets. The SEC has established certain criteria for that qualification. The coin has to be fully backed by cash or T-bills, maintain a one-to-one peg to the USD, and have guaranteed redemption rights. These policy reforms have removed a major hurdle, which could potentially trigger massive institutional adoption. So I think it will be really interesting to see what happens, because now it's going to be much easier and more straightforward for these corporations to hold stablecoins on their balance sheets. And for banks and lenders, treating them as cash equivalents reduces compliance risk, uncertainty, and all of this could be great news for companies like Tether with USDT and Circle with USDC, as well as anybody else who's offering a USD-backed coin.
Peter Thiel backed Palantir, so now he's backing Bullish. What really can you tell us about this planned IPO?
Yeah, so Peter's a very interesting guy, right? He's a well-known entrepreneur, investor, philanthropist. Not only has he backed Palantir, but he was a co-founder of PayPal and an early angel investor in Facebook. So at the very least, I think his investment track record tells us this is something to keep an eye on. The firm is called Bullish, and it's a crypto exchange company, also known for a crypto news site called CoinDesk. It's led by CEO Tom Farley, who was formerly previously served as the president of the NYSE, and the company's got over 275 employees globally, operating in Hong Kong, the US, and Europe. They're targeting a valuation of about $4.2 billion, seeking to raise up to $630 million by offering 20.3 million shares priced somewhere between $28 and $31 each. They applied to have their listed shares on the NYSE under the ticker BLSH, and the company did note in their filing that they plan to convert a significant portion of those IPO proceeds into USD denominated stablecoins with the assistance of one or more of the issuers of those tokens. I think it's somewhat notable that this is the second time Bullish has tried to go public in the last 4 years. They initially tried via a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC, back in 2021, but the plan was pretty much abandoned because of all of the regulatory challenges. And you can bet firms like these, no doubt, are encouraged by all of these regulatory changes.
Yeah, I mean, and I completely agree. And I think definitely encouraging to see the trickle effect that we have just been witnessing over the last several weeks. So on that note, last but not least, Circle will be releasing its first public earnings next week. What are you really going to be focused in on in their report?
Yeah, so next Tuesday, August 12th, 8 a.m., they'll announce their Q2 2025 results. The stock's down a bit since the all-time highs that it hit back in mid-July, falling from about 235 down to 160 or so today. Analysts covering the stock seem to be split in terms of what to expect. One prominent research company out there called Zacks Investment Research has an estimate of about 29 cents in terms of adjusted EPS on revenue of about 645 million. According to FactSet estimates, only 47% of analysts have the stock rated as a buy, while 24% have it rated as a sell. And that sell percent is more than 2% or more than 2 times most of its crypto related peers. So I think that's something interesting and something to keep an eye on. Those same analysts are also expressing some optimism in their price target, which is 191, and that represents nearly 20% upside from today's price. I think there's going to be 3 key things to focus on. USDC adoption, right? Specifically, the growth in USDC float. That is the primary driver of their revenues, the interest that they earn on the reserves that back the USDC coin. So any adoption there will be very helpful. I think another thing that's going to be important is what they say about the potential for interest rate fluctuations in the future. As I just mentioned, the significant portion of their revenue comes from that interest. So if we do go into an interest rate cutting sort of a world, well, then their profitability is going to suffer. And then I think the third thing is going to be diversification of revenue streams. Platform revenue, software, fintech services, strategic partnerships like they had with FIS. I think the market's going to want to see some signs of them being a little bit more than just a stable coin. And then I think the other thing is that it's going to be interesting to see really how much attention is given to more common things like profitability, margins, balance sheet health. I think that with companies like this, there's going to be a little less focus on that stuff in the early days, but increasing focus on those financials in the future.
Yeah, and I definitely think they will have a lot to prove, of course, just given the pretty meteoric run we've seen, of course, post-public offering. So great points there, and appreciate the commentary, as always, Adam Lynch. That's going to do it for Crypto Corner this week. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page and follow Schwab Network on your favorite social media channels. I'm Jenny Horne. We'll see you soon again.